Hi everyone, Raphael Harry here, and you're listening to White Label American, a podcast where we hear stories from an immigrant or two, sometimes more. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of White Label American. Thank you all for joining us today. Special shout out to our patrons. We have two new members, Rich and Nom. So thank you for your support, and to everyone.
Nom!
Hey. Yeah, give Nom all the shout out he needs.
Well, it's like Cheers, right? He walks into the bar and he's just like, no.
Actually, the name's kind of Rich and Nom. So, well, I didn't plan it, but it just happened. So.
No one shouts out for Rich. Rich, you weren't in Cheers, sorry. But Nom.
This is beautiful. So yes, so everyone listening, if you want to join us and support, please do. We're trying to build community, and there's a whole lot of more things we need to do. We need to bring more people on the team and go forward. And we're just at the beginning. We're not even at the tip of the iceberg yet. So there's a lot more things that will be coming up in the future. But we know that these are hard times and not everyone can support financially. But you can also support by liking, subscribing, sharing, especially on iTunes. Go give us that push on the algorithms. Give us a positive review, 5 stars, keep it coming, and we appreciate all that. And if you tag me and take a screenshot of your posting the reviews and post on social media, there's a reward. I appreciate it. We'll send you a little something, and we'll try and say thank you. We'll do a draw and say thank you. Maybe we'll get Michael back to come do the draw. So I've given the first name out of our guest today. So enough of
I'll just
all
fake
that.
it and just say it's my name, and like
I take everything.
I'll just be like, it's me. I won. I didn't support anything for the Patreon, but I won.
You sound like what's his name? The Collector from Thor Ragnarok. Yay!
Yeah. The only thing I collect is bad vibes.
And also
and back pain.
You can get our t-shirts in all colors, as many colors as possible. Your favorite colors will probably be one of them at vetclothing.com. And yeah, go support small businesses, minority businesses, help them out, and yeah, bring that money in. We need it. So enough of all that. Let's jump to today's guest. I'm so happy and honored to have Michael Burhan. Did I say it right?
Yeah, it's Michael Burhan.
Burhan.
Yeah.
I went.
Either that, you can call me Mike, or that weird person from England.
Well, I know a lot of weird people from England, like a lot. They
you
play
know
football with me every Friday.
Yeah, the people who come from the United Kingdom who think they're weird, and then there's me. I'm the guy that you basically just don't let talk to people, because every time I talk to people, people just look at me in disgust.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So a little bit, I don't know if I should even go ahead and try and introduce you, or would you just like to introduce yourself?
Okay. I'm an actor in a sense. What kind of an actor in a sense? I'm the guy that you've seen and stuff, but you probably don't know it. Like, you'd be like, oh, I know that guy from somewhere, but I can't place his name. I've done loads of stuff. I've had an over 20-year career, and then I decided to pack up all my shit, move to China, adopt a bunch of animals, because I don't like seeing stuff that's homeless. And now I'm teaching in China / being a man whore. So there's those two things. But yeah, I'm enjoying life. I'm close to 40 years old now, so it's very.
So we're in the same club.
Feeling.
I'm close to 40.
Yeah, I'm knocking 40. I'm slightly tapping on 40's door, going, "Hi." It's
me too. Sometimes I talk like I'm 40, and my wife's like, "No, you're not. You got one
I'm
more
the same
year."
thing.
I'm like, "Dang it!"
I say it to everybody. I'm like, I'm 40 years old. I don't need this shit. And my kids go, actually, Dad, you're not 40 years old. You're 39 years
Yeah.
old. And I'm like, well, it's close enough.
Like,
I'm getting
I
to
should, we should
40.
start getting the benefits, right? We deserve the benefits, but no, no,
The benefits of being 40 are back pain,
uh,
joint pain,
man.
and basically,
We don't have to spoil it for them. You know, there's some people who, like, I have a younger cousin. He's like 24 now. And sometimes the way he talks about, oh man, I can't wait to be your age. I'm like, God, Lee, man, this guy is.
yeah, it's like you can't wait to be in that stage where you get to the realization of like, I'm halfway through life and I haven't accomplished shit
I'm
at
like,
all. Like,
yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
accomplished anything. And then I have that crippling anxiety in the back of my head going, well, you're going to die soon. And like, you haven't done anything. All you've done is like decorated your house with cats and dogs.
Oh man. But that's not all
So,
about you, though. You're also an actor, a writer,
yes,
director,
yes, yes,
CEO of Enigma Entertainment.
yes.
Um, you're all around content creator. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I've spent my life creating things. One of my biggest thrills in life was that I pitched a television series to the BBC. We were in the planning stages before they ended up in a bit of hot water over some tax issues, and they were migrate. They didn't know what to do with BBC Three, so they let me go. Um, and I didn't get the rights to my TV show back until I think it was about 5 years ago now.
oh,
So uh, it's been. I'm probably the guy that you would go to if you need to talk about what you should and shouldn't do in terms of this industry, because this industry has had a lot of positive effects, but also a lot of negative effects. And especially with the stuff that's been going on recently, like a fellow Brit, Noel Clark, got outed recently as being a complete creepo, due to the fact that he harassed more than one woman, and like all these women like kept coming out, like, saying, yeah, he harassed
so
me and
like
he harassed her.
Harvey Weinstein of the UK.
It's very much, well, not on Weinstein's effect, because Weinstein's
Well,
situation was a bit,
he's a rapist too. So
but not just that. It's just the fact that everybody enabled him to be a
okay.
rapist.
Yes.
It's that whole untouchable effect. Like when they talk about serial killers,
Yeah.
and the thrill for the serial killer isn't the fact that they're killing, but more the fact that they aren't getting caught. They
Yeah.
feel invincible. They feel like invulnerable. Like, if I want to preface something as an example, they feel like a real life supervillain, like a Magneto or a Thanos. And the
Okay.
biggest problem with that situation is the more they don't get caught, the more people make mistakes, and the more people enable the behavior, the
Yes.
more outlandish they will do. Because like Weinstein even knew the fact he was being recorded by an actress when he tried to sexually harass her, and said, and like, if you've listened to the audio, is like him going, well, it's the thing you do, just do it, it's like, it's fun, let yourself go. And then eventually you'll get what you want. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude, read the
Wow.
room. She said no.
Mm-hmm.
She said no, thank you, I don't want this, and he still did it.
Mm.
And it's just basically in that situation where Noel Clark, and he was basically given the keys to the kingdom. He
True.
was an independent artist. He made a movie called Kidulthood. He basically was one of the premier actors in BAFTA. They took pride in him, and he won like the People's Choice Awards and stuff like that. And he ruined it all because he couldn't keep his hands to himself. And being a dad who has daughters, right? It's all fun and games being a bit of a hoe and sleeping around and doing what you want to do. And I'm not just saying women, I'm saying men too, because
Yes.
us men are hoes, are just big enough hoes as well. Um, it's fun and games doing that, but when it's non-consensual and you like try and lord someone's career over them and try and force them into a position of submissiveness so that you get what you want, is absolutely atrocious. And I think I'm glad that Weinstein is being held accountable. I hope he rots in hell, the freaking bastard. Um, but the same situation with Noel Clark right now, where he's kind of being silent about the situation and pretending that it doesn't exist. He's hoping that it goes away.
Mhm.
In terms of the allegations, that's all they are right now. They're allegations. No one has come forward to press charges. The police aren't doing anything, and if you look back to the industry as it was prior anyway, like, I don't know if you know about a guy called Jimmy Savile. The BBC
Yes,
went out and
yes, yes.
protected him when he was going around freaking, like, the dude would be raping corpses and shit.
Hmm.
He was into everything. Um, and the BBC protected him. And it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Like, allegations aren't enough. There has to be physical evidence. And the problem being is no one is going to prosecute anyone just because someone says that they did something. But the court of public opinion has basically cancelled him because of the fact that multiple women came forward. And I'm glad they did. They are brave individuals. And I'll say this to anybody who has been in that situation: you are very brave. The fact that you've come forward and you are fighting for yourself. But the biggest problem still is we have this negative stigma around it.
We
People are
do.
calling
It,
like each other names. Like, if
it's
you're a fan of that person,
yeah,
you'll
it's like we
automatically
we
go
jump
after.
to protect the person first before we protect
Yeah, we
our
do, we
our
don't.
our, our star first before
Yeah,
and we'll be like, oh, there must be an agenda behind a victim.
because there always has to be an agenda,
There's always
right?
an
There has
agenda
to.
behind, like, why you want to bring this star down? Why do you want, and that kind of thing. But I'll have to cut you there because
Yeah, of course.
we're still gonna come back to this because it's something that I really want to talk about. So that's some meat that we'll have to cut into later on.
Of
Forgive
course.
my pun. But um, before we get to all the serious, heavy stuff which we've already touched, let's get to the very beginning because I need to know you, like you.
Yes.
So where were you? Well, where's your place of birth and what was your childhood like?
I was born in the United Kingdom from a half Palestinian Turkish woman and a father who was Turkish Cypriot, but also a bit of an asshole. My childhood was like most. I had a mother who loved me dearly and would protect me, but I also had a father who was a complete and utter douchebag. I always used to say this to my dad. I said I would never, if I knew you as a person, I would never go out and have a drink with you because you're very self-destructive. Um, as Prince Harry said about his life, I can mirror my life. Well, I can mirror anybody's life. There's a cycle of abuse.
Hmm.
And once you go through a cycle of abuse, that abuse repeats and repeats and then repeats unless you acknowledge said abuse
Yes.
and go, hey, maybe I need to not do that. Maybe I need to kind of go away from that, steer clear of that, and find my own way. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I went into kind of a downward spiral with the country I was living in. And even after my father passed away, it was a bit hard trying to justify his behavior.
So
I was a
you and
norm.
your dad always stayed in touch, even if it was a frosty relationship.
Yeah, we always stayed in touch because we were. The thing about it is, it's very much a cultural thing where even if your family is manipulative and abusive,
Trust me,
um,
yeah, it's
yeah,
same.
you're like, because they always will be like, well, it's your job to look after the parents, and you've kind of been
Exactly.
co-signed that kind of thing. Especially like even in here in China, you have the grandparents looking after the children so that the children would look after the grandparents. The mum and dad would hand their children over to their mother and father to look after for them. And then once the grandparents have finished doing that and the kid has grown up, then the kid will financially and physically support the grandparents when they're like no longer able to do anything. And it's just I find that like that kind of relationship just a really bad one. And I love my dad. I will say this as anybody. I love my dad. My dad was a horrible human being. He didn't know how to be a dad. He didn't know how to um, do anything apart from raise his hands and raise his fists.
Mm.
He was constantly jealous of any accomplishment I ever had. And he was, but the thing is, he wasn't as bad to me as he was to my brothers. Like, my brothers got it even worse. Um, but yeah, I developed a lot of issues living in the United Kingdom. So
So where in
um,
United Kingdom exactly?
London,
Okay.
London, England. I was privileged to be living in London, but I was also living in London with an impoverished family. Like my
Mm.
dad was, by the time I came along with my brother, my dad was working hard. He had that conservative mindset of, you've got to build your own thing and
Yeah.
work hard, and eventually you'll be a millionaire. And it didn't happen. He
If you
went
work
bankrupt.
hard, you'll make it. The
Yeah,
way
which
how many immigrants? It's like we told that all you gotta do is study, work hard, you'll make it. I told a
yeah, yeah,
girl in my class, I went to university late after I'd gotten out of the military, so I was like almost 32 when I got my bachelor's, and one of my final classes, the professor asked, it was a business class, and the professor asked, what do you think it takes to make it, for someone to make it in life? And this girl just, if you go to school, you work hard, and you get your education, you make it in life. And I was like, you know what? I hate to bust your bubble. You've never seen life, so no, that's a
yeah.
bloody lie. And
I agree with you. I totally
class
agree with you.
was like, it's like I made an enemy for life that day. 'Cause it was like her dreams just crashed. I was like, look, do you know the janitor, one of the janitors downstairs in this university? It's actually a private university, and that guy has a degree. He moved from another
Yeah.
country. He's a brilliant mind. But he's one of the he's the most hardest working person in this university. He's here pretty early, cleans all the bathrooms and all that. Why is he not a millionaire? You ever thought about that? You can't see it that way because all you see is, oh, I go to university. But it's who you know, it's your connections. And if you get the right connection, you don't even need to work hard. You just need to work smart.
No, I agree with you.
And then she was
And
like, I said, yeah, I was like,
I
I'm not trying
remember.
to fight you, but I'm just making a point that, we need to change that language because almost all our
Mm,
immigrant parents, that's the thing what they were told. And I know where the messaging comes from, and that's how we they beat it into our kids. And that's one thing I'm not doing to my daughter. Like, nope, it's not. I'm not going to beat it into you because I got it. I used to be the guy who swallowed that language. I breathed by that language until I started looking
mm,
around one day. I was like, why am I don't I used to I hardly even took vacations. It's something that I'm programming myself to say it's okay to take a break. Like Josh, we even tell me sometimes, like,
yeah.
yeah, you could take a break, it's good. It's like, yeah, but it comes from that work hard, you make it. Work hard, kill yourself down. If you don't work hard, you're not almost dead. You don't deserve because you can't be a millionaire like that. So, yeah, I will, it relates in almost all our communities, almost
Well,
all our
something that
friends.
reflected to me
Yeah.
was something that Donald Trump said. He goes, I was a self-made man. I was just given $1 million loan by my dad. And I just started laughing. My dad literally couldn't give me a broken penny when I came out of
Ah.
college. I went to art school, and then I decided I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And I remember my dad was like, "You need an education. You need to do this. You need to do that." And I was like, "I
Mm-hmm.
just want to do pro wrestling." Because I my favorite match was Hulk Hogan versus the Iron Sheik, and this is before Hulk Hogan came out as a
Oh,
big
yeah, I
name.
remember that.
This is this is
But
before Hogan came out as the big N word guy.
mhm. Oh yeah, this was
Um,
this was
yeah,
early 90s. Or
yeah.
was
He
it
was
the
Hogan
one they had
versus
in Iraq? Was it the one they had in Saudi Arabia or the one in Iraq?
No, no, no. It was Sergeant Slaughter. He came out as an Iraqi sympathizer, and they had like
Okay,
Madison Square Garden. It was him
okay,
versus Slaughter.
yeah.
They had to downgrade it to like a smaller arena. I remember like when I was watching the documentaries and reading stuff about it. I was like, this is my favorite match of all time, and everyone is slating it. Um,
It was big
but
in
like,
Nigeria.
but
Ah.
when Hogan came out as being a complete racist, and he still is a complete fucking racist. I basically lost any faith in him as a person. But pro wrestling was so much more. Like I managed to have 2 good years of my career before breaking my ankle and being told never to do it again. And then went into acting. And I remember my dad sitting in his hospital bed, because he was always in and out of hospital because he doesn't fucking listen to anybody. Very, very stubborn old man. And he sat there and went, "You're never going to make it as an actor. You're just going to be a background or an extra." And I was really annoyed
Mm.
about that, because he never appreciated anything. Like, he would tell everybody else, my son's amazing, he's an actor. But he wouldn't tell me that. He would never give me like the kindness and stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, when I was at school, I used to get bullied a lot because kids hated my guts. A lot of it was because of my own family and their toxic nature. So I basically came out of London and was just like, I don't want to be here. I fell in love with America. Like, I used to watch American TV all the time when I was a kid. It was my kind of foray into like American culture. I would watch stuff like Married with Children, Frasier, the TV show Friends,
Mm.
and loads of other stuff because I was just in love with America in general. And when I was progressing in my acting career, I wanted to move to America.
To
You
America.
know, I wanted to
Okay.
move to America and be an actor there, but it never materialized because I didn't have the things that I needed to progressively move. Plus, I didn't have the 10 grand I needed to kind of apply for a visa and stuff. I need to be told not to. So
Okay,
the
wait.
opportunity
Before
came up.
we go a little
Yes.
bit further, um, I have two questions. So,
Yes.
your neighborhood, in the part of London that you grew up in, was it a diverse neighborhood, or was it, yeah, was it a diverse neighborhood? And then, in all the negativity that happened with your
Mhm.
growing up and the toxicity that you were around, I would still like to know what you consider your favorite childhood memory.
My favorite childhood memory was video games, to be honest. My dad was a huge film buff and a huge video game buff. He had a ColecoVision, um, which was basically produced as part of the gaming crash. And my dad used to bring that out, and we used to play games like Donkey Kong,
Oh, Donkey Kong,
Dr.
man, that
Pepper.
has been
We used to
forever.
do, yeah, we used to play like video games together all the time. That they were kind of the best moments, right? Um, and I used to enjoy those situations when I liked being at home, hated being at school. But a lot of it wasn't the lessons themselves; it was just the kids and the dealing with all the bull crap that you had to do as a kid, being
Well,
bullied by other kids because you wanted. I was always told to button down and just study, and that's what I did.
mm,
And other kids didn't like that very much, so I'd get the crap beaten out of me on a regular basis. But that was my favorite time. My dad used to let me stay up at times as well and record dirty movies for him, um, because that was the kind of person my dad was. Like when I turned 17, he took me to a shop that was selling porn and goes, "Can you buy these for me? The guy knows me." And I'm just looking at him like, "Why? Why are you doing this to me?
oh
Like,
man,
seriously?" And I actually went in there, uh, paid with his money to buy like some pornos. My dad goes, "Here, you can have one." I'm like, "I don't want your freaking porn cast offs. No, thank you." He was a very strange man, my dad.
that was bonding, I guess.
Yeah, it's he had no there's a word in like where people say he had no chill. My dad had no chill, right? He didn't understand the fundamentals of raising a child to become a productive member of society. He instead tried to screw me up as much as he was screwed up because that's how he learned. You know, that's the way he learned
Hmm.
from his dad.
If I may ask, how
Um,
how how old was he when he became a parent?
he was very young, fairly young.
Okay.
I think in his teens.
Ah, all right.
Yeah. My mom was older than him, and again, he was kind of going like, "You need to marry, you need to have kids," and then
Yep.
his thing to me was, "You need to marry, you need to have kids."
Yep.
So I did the same thing and
That
married at the
pressure.
age of
Mm.
25. I married. I remember because it was the same time I was going balding as well, and I married a woman who we weren't right for each other at all. But we have four beautiful children. Like my daughters and my sons are amazing. My daughters, my my youngest daughter's a rebel. She just wants to fucking cause so many headaches for her mum, uh, in general, and she's too smart for her own good to the point where she was in religious education class and she keeps pointing out the flaws uh, in the
I love
class.
that.
And I'm just like, "I love you to pieces, sweetie, but can you just please not do that?" And she went, "Why?" I said, "Just pass the class. Pass the class. then you won't have to take it again. After secondary school, you don't have to take it again. But
Mm.
she's like, why? It's full of shit. And I'm like, yes, I know this, but at the same time, like I appreciate anyone. Like I'm not a
Ah,
religious person. I know
neither
people
am
who
I.
are, and
But
I appreciate it. You have your passions. That's great. As long as you don't use it to justify your own freaking personal hatred of people, then I've got no issue. But my daughter has no chill when it comes to stuff like that. My eldest daughter has. She reminds me a little bit of me. She has a lot of anxiety.
mm,
So she doesn't like to be around people. She gets stressed out a lot, and people tend to bully her because she's very easy in terms of being bullied because she's pretty much an outcast when it comes to people.
mm.
My two sons are very insane. My youngest son is very lovely, mama's boy. My oldest son is pretty much silly too, but they're good kids. They're all very very smart, very good kids, and I'm doing everything I can to kind of try and give them as much of a perfect life, knowing that I'm not around them right now. And to be honest, being here, I miss them, but I know being here is probably a better idea than being back in the UK because in the UK I had no opportunity. Here I have a lot of opportunity, and there's no glass ceiling here, which is good.
I'm glad that your kids are not going through that same toxicity that you went through, and
Mm.
it's important that we break that cycle. And
We need to as
we,
parents
we, we
because if
have
we
to,
don't, yeah,
because
then
it's
we're raising people to be exactly like
yeah,
us, and then those people are just going to be even more damaged than we were.
it's another reason why I'm always against the, oh, she must be like me, or she must using the languages that emphasize like, oh, if the child is not towing the line, they've lost their identity that they come from. I'm like, no, that's part of the identity, and I love it. I encourage
Yeah,
my
it's
daughter is
it's
barely, she's gonna be 3 soon, and she is already, I'm push I encourage her, not like pushing her, I encourage her. Yeah, I support her when I see the tendencies. Like, if she wants to eat Nigerian
mm,
food, that's fine. If she wants to eat German food, her mom is German. That's fine. If she wants to eat whatever, that's fine. But she does, if she wants Nigerian music, whatever music, listen to it all. Don't, and if tomorrow she says she's religious, as much as I'm anti-religion, I'll be like, that's fine. One day you'll be like your mom and wake up and be like,
mm,
this is BS, and I'm out.
I agree.
Then
The
that
way
works.
the way I always say it is, and I said this to my daughter the other day because we had a conversation after they didn't talk to me for like 4 months,
Hmm.
due to me and their mom having a few issues, and she was telling me about like I want to leave, and I'm just like, look, listen, fuck your mom, fuck me, right? Focus on you, focus on what you need.
Yeah,
Look at self-care, take care of yourself, do what you need to do to make sure that you're happy,
wellness.
because in the
Hmm.
end, yeah, that's all you need, that's all you can have. Happiness is the only thing you can have. um, because this world is a very short time, you have a very short lifespan, and if you're not happy, if you spend most of your life miserable, then what the fuck are you doing? Like,
It's true. That's one of the best advice that we can give our kids and younger ones, because um there was a time I did a volunteer event once in the Bronx pre-pandemic,
mm,
and I was the only person of color at this event, where a bunch of veterans who came there, but most of them were from the financial sector, and yeah, they were, I think they were all white. I think there was only myself and an Asian dude. So I was the only black person actually that was there. But all the kids were teenagers, all black.
yeah.
And they found out that I was in college then. So all of them started gravitating towards me because they had questions, because they were from some of them were migrants, some of them were from most of them were from, the poorer neighborhoods, and I could relate to the questions that they had. And the girls, kept bringing questions like, "How do I know what I want to study? How do I know what my profession?" What? And I was like, "I don't honestly, I don't even know. I don't even know." But the one thing I could tell you is, yeah, focus on you. There's nothing wrong with if you don't have that clear path right away. because
Hmm.
tomorrow your passion can, it can change. But it's okay to pursue your passion. But I think by the end of our discussion, it was like their faces lit up because they were hearing something from someone that they're not you people don't normally tell them, because everybody's like, you must go make that money, you must go buy a house, you must go this, you must marry, especially if you're girls, you must go marry, make babies, and but I was like, that's not important. The most important thing is you,
Yeah,
your
and that's the thing.
happiness. You take care of yourself. Even a boy come,
Hmm.
no, forget the boys. No boy loves you right now. You're what, 15, 16. No boy knows love. None of them know
It's all
love.
about the penis right now. It's like
Trust me.
boys
Trust me.
touching their willies,
Just
hoping to get some action.
focus on you. If you don't know what you want to study, that's fine. That's fine.
Hmm.
Don't rush. Take your you can always change your mind tomorrow. And but the joy. I think that was like the best. I was after that day. I realized that it was after that. I saw the impact on the kids. I started coming out even more to volunteering because I realized that they don't usually see people like myself at events like that. You usually see only like white people, and
Yeah,
those guys can really relate, especially someone who's from a richer background. And it's like, yeah, if you work hard, you make it. And even they are with good intentions, but you just sending them. They keep hearing that. They've been hearing that in school. They hear that everywhere. So they're like, another one again.
because we're basically like training our children to be these like workers, worker
Factory
bees. Because
workers, yeah,
yeah,
toe the
and
line.
it's pretty much the same thing. Like, when boomers, and the reason why they're called boomers is because they were around during the baby boom era, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, I worked hard and I got a house and now I'm a millionaire. And it's like, fuck off, Steve. The reason why you're a millionaire is because when you were working, the price of inflation wasn't as much as it is now. We're
True.
basically due to a housing market crisis, because every fucking rich fucker on the planet is buying houses and using them as equity.
Yes.
Um, we're in a position where people cannot buy a home at the affordable price. You cannot work a 7-day a week
Mm.
position for a company like, say, McDonald's, or for a big store chain that you're working
Or a gas
for.
station.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and you're paying your most of your wages are used to pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
But if you buy a house, if you get a loan, then you're paying, it's cheaper. But the problem is your credit is so shit, you can't do that.
Exactly.
So you're going to have to build up a deposit. And you can't build up a deposit because you're stuck paying rent and paying all your bills.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I kind of caught on rather early with, when I left and I moved to China, was that things are a lot cheaper here. Like, I can live off less here. When I was
Mm.
first in China, my first like month in China, I spent £100 for a month.
A month.
Imagine that, right? I was living off ramen, but I was spending £100 for a month.
And
My
that was
rent was
probably
paid
good
for.
ramen too.
Yeah, and my rent was paid for. I had a bed to sleep in. I was, I basically was able to survive on £100 a month. Then once I got my paycheck, I was able to buy things, and I was basically on the same amount as someone would earn working 7 days at a store like Walmart, like $1,000. I had $1,000, and I chose to take half that paycheck and send it home.
Mm.
Because I needed it like for my family. So I lived off
Yes.
$500. Then once that position ended and I negotiated for another job, I'm here in Shanghai now, and I'm earning the equivalent of nearly $3,000. And I don't pay rent. I don't pay any of my bills apart from my internet and my phone bill. That's it. And when I look at that, I look at how much of a privileged position I'm in here, it makes me laugh how in a Western society where we're like, we have freedom of speech, we have this, we have that, we have everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have the assiness to say, oh, but you can't buy a house, you can't own your things. We're not going to give you a livable wage, because why should we give you a
Your
livable
livable
wage?
wage. Yeah.
And then they wonder why so many people are moving to streaming platforms and YouTube and Twitch and making content creating and saying, fuck it, I'm going to live off of this instead of living off of your your freaking scraps, because people don't see the value of other people. When you work for a convenience store, like I used to work for a place called J Sainsbury's after I finished university, because I wanted to like see if I could live my life on my own, because I was divorced at the time. I'm still divorced, but I was starting out on my own after finishing university, and I got an apartment. The apartment was literally one bedroom in a shop that some Jewish guy owned, who was not paying tax on it, who then basically said that I was living there after he kicked me out. And I ended up having to pay his shortfall. It's just so much drama. But
And London is
the
like your rent there, your apartments there, like
I was
woo.
paying my rent, I was paying my apartment, I was earning like $1,000 a month, and the company did not give a shit about me. They didn't care if I lived, they didn't care if I died. If I didn't come into work,
Yeah,
they
you
would
have to show up. That's
throw me in
all.
a meeting, they would
Hmm.
treat me like I was scum, like I didn't deserve to work there, that I was just nothing. And most companies do this. They treat you like you're just a cog in the wheel. If you don't do the job, we'll find someone else to replace you,
That's it.
someone for cheaper. It's that simple. And it's really horrendous, because now we're treating people like they're numbers
Yeah,
and they're cogs
that's
in
what
a
it
wheel.
is. It's
Yeah.
just treating people like their numbers. And you bring a point that someone actually told me this back when I was working security in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the person noticed that I didn't take a break, yeah, I didn't take a day off. I was just always at work. My breaks were public holidays because I didn't have to come in for a holiday.
Yeah.
And even on holidays, the company tried to switch me to another location that's around 24/7. You know, they were like, "Oh, we will give you overtime," and which was like $1 extra pay or $2 or something. Oh, it was barely anything.
I'll tell them to take that overtime and put it up their
Yeah, the
ass.
overtime was nonsense. And someone said, I think it was one of the directors, or yeah, it was one of the executives there who noticed that. Man, you're like, you're always here, man. You're always on time. You're dressed up. You're nice.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of the best people I've ever walked here. And they were like, "Oh, don't you take, when you get a break?" I was like, "Oh, I go home and I sleep." Like, "Nah, I'm not talking about that, man." I was like, "Oh, I get weekends off." I'm talking about that. Like, when you take a break. I was like, it's not bad, I work only 8 hours, and I was like, dude, you know, yeah, you need a break, man. Take time off. Go. But I'm like, they don't give paid leave. So,
Mm.
well, because in the military, I used to get paid leave. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
was easier. Like, even that, still, with that, I still only took a break, official leave, like once a year. I wouldn't take a break. So,
Dude,
I even missed out on
mm,
a free trip to anywhere in the world. When I was stationed in the
yeah.
Middle East, I had the opportunity to get that twice. I only took it once because I just wanted to stay at work, stay at work, stay at work. Like you're not even getting overtime. You don't get overtime in the military, so it didn't make sense. But that's how that mentality had been built into me. And this
Yeah.
guy was telling me, like, dude, you're replaceable. That's the point. Was you're replaceable. It's
Yeah.
not like they can't survive without you. And they
Nope.
did. They survived with that.
This is this is the thing though. Like, well, in my current position, I'm not replaceable. They can't find anyone, because there's a bit of a shortage right now,
Mm.
and they can't find anyone who is willing to do my job and do it the way that I do it. So I've got a little bit of leeway where I am currently, which is great. It's nice. It means I'm appreciated a lot more.
All right.
But when I was working in the UK, no, like I remember I had an accident here in China on my first time I was here. I had a bike accident because a guy, literally, he just drove his car right in front of me, and I had two choices: to do the emergency brake, or I end up basically crashing into his car. I flew off the bike. I flew in one direction, the bike flew in the other, and I was on the floor and I was banged up and I had scrapes all over my arms, like I was bleeding. Got up, picked my bike up. A bunch of Chinese people looking at me, going, "Is that foreigner dead?" No, he's not dead. He's all right. That's all right. And I remember this guy just drove off like nothing happened. So I messaged my boss, and then I came into work, and she goes, "Don't you need to go to the hospital?" And I was like, "Nope." She was like, "But you had a major accident." I said, "I'm fine. Nothing's broken. My ribs are bruised. I'm okay." And she just looked at me and went, "You are not like any foreigner that's ever worked here." And I said to her, I just looked at her straight in the face and went, "I'm English. This is what we do." Because I've been programmed most of my life just to do this. Just
Uh,
never miss a day, do your
Nigerians do
job.
that too.
Yeah.
Even when my car got totaled, I was coming to work. Someone ran off the shoulder. He came illegally, was crossing from another highway in 2 hours, and boom, the cop came up to me and they knew it was the guy's fault. And they were like, we should call an ambulance for you. I was like, nah, man, I got to go to work. I still got like 10 minutes
Yep.
for my shift begins. I got to go to
Yeah. And
work.
it's
Like,
it's the way it always is. Like you do your job and you always do it. When I was working security, I did 7 days a week working the Olympics, right? And I was doing evenings, all the evenings. So I did every single freaking evening, and I did 7 days a week. And I remember my last shift, I was so goddamn tired. I nearly missed it because I slept to the point where I didn't hear my alarm. I got up, had a shower, ran for the bus, got the bus, got to work, and did my job. I was like 5 minutes late. And that's the thing. People don't get this. People never understand the toll that you get through. And I think I agree with you on the point where I think it's the immigrant mindset. My parents were immigrants. I'm currently an immigrant, so I'm always like work, 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 work,
mhm.
work. Don't miss a day.
Yeah.
Because you feel like if you miss a day, and then things happen, it's your fault.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even as an actor, I was the first guy on set all the time. I would come in like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be sitting there in the catering truck, and I'd literally have people come in and go like, "The director's not even here yet, and you're sitting here," and I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Why are you here so early?" And I was like, "Because I wanted to make sure I was the first person on set," and that's it is what it is.
It is. So we're gonna come into talk about your acting, and before we
Hmm.
do that, we'll take a quick break. I'll be right back. Hi everyone, your host Raphael Harry here. I can't believe we've gone past our 1 year anniversary of doing White Label American. I've had the privilege of speaking with some amazing people sharing their modern day immigrant stories. And you've allowed this Nigerian immigrant to share parts of his immigrant journey through this podcast. Also, one of my goals of this podcast is breaking down artificial walls that keep people from getting to understand each other. Based on your wonderful feedback over the last year, I think we have done a decent job in breaking down some of those walls. We would like to continue and expand on this mission, but we need your help. I've had an amazing time creating and producing episodes for this show largely on my own. We have a lot of ideas for new and exciting content to expand upon the mission, but we need direct support from you, our listeners, which is why we have created a White Label American Patreon page where you can make a one-time donation or become a sustaining contributor, where you can get access to exclusive content, help me interview upcoming guests by submitting questions, and even have the chance to sit down with me for a one-on-one conversation, either virtually or in studio. So if this podcast means something to you, and if you really love this show, think about becoming a sustaining contributor and donating by going to patreon.com/white label American POD. Thanks for listening and for the privilege of your company. Okay, so welcome back. And thanks for joining us, Mike, and
Of course.
to everyone listening. Thanks for staying with us. So let's talk about acting. You mentioned earlier that you did some wrestling and got unfortunately got injured in wrestling.
Yes.
So
Yes.
before we get into acting, if I were to ask about a sliding door moment in your life where you would have ended up in a different career path,
Hmm.
would that have been wrestling, or is there a possibility of something else being the sliding door
I always
moment?
wanted to be a talk show host when I was a kid. Like I used to do talk shows for my teddy bears.
Mm.
I wanted to be the like I used to stay up and watch like late night talk shows like Leno. I used to watch the Late Late Show a lot, and I always used to just watch these shows, thinking I could do that. Um, I even tried to audition for the Late 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 Show before James Corden became the host.
Oh
It
wow!
was the right it was the right choice. Like he's a freaking funny
Oh
man.
yeah, he is. He is.
Despite the fact he's being oversaturated like crazy right now in America. But he's a very funny man, and he was a perfect choice for that show. But I always wanted to do that. Like I wanted to be the guy interviewing all the celebrities and talking to them and stuff. But then I fell into professional wrestling because I wanted to do it as a kid because I thought that this could be my thing. I've always wanted to entertain people. That was my life choice. That's what I wanted to do.
Mm.
I knew I wanted to do something entertaining, but I didn't know what. Whether it be professional wrestling or talk shows or even acting. Like I never even liked acting to begin with, but I became an actor because of a weird audition that I had for Channel 4. And
So how did that come about?
my brother basically was attending an audition and said, "Hey, do you want to come?"
So
I
your
was
brother is
working
an
nine to.
actor?
He was, yes. He's
Okay.
now working in security full time.
All right.
I think he's hoping that I'd make it big so I can bring him in. Uh, but he wanted to attend an audition. I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it with you." And hello, Daisy. Sorry, my cat's decided that she wanted to come stand in my lap. Um, so yes, you're saying hello to everyone.
Hello, Daisy.
Yes.
I hear you.
She's a bit of a madam. Okay, run off then. Um, but yeah, I basically became this. I went to this audition, and the people at the audition liked my thing. They didn't like my brothers, but they liked me.
Mm.
So they brought me on this show called Dirty Tricks. And the video is actually resurfaced recently. Um,
So was that the
where
one you posted where you were like on a date?
Yes, and it's called Dawn Porter's Manchester. They needed an actor. So I did Dirty Tricks, and then they phoned me up one day and said, we had to reshoot the show. So we haven't used you yet, but we can use you for another show. And I was like, okay, what do you want to use me for? There's this thing called Balls of Steel. You need to go to this pub at this time. Don't leave. And I was like, what do you mean don't leave? We can't tell you what it is. Just don't leave. Everyone else keeps running away. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I was coming out of work. I was working in IT at the time. So I came out of the job and I'm walking down and I go to this bar and I meet this woman. I'm like, she's gorgeous, absolutely stunning. And then she does this leg thing. And I'm like, I looked at her like it wasn't a problem. It just looked like a surprise. Like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
going on with your legs? So she did that. And then she's like, "Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course," because I'm an honest person. So we went and did that, and they were more focused on the guy that drank his pint and ran off. Right, this guy drank
Ah.
his pint
Hmm.
and legged it, and then once he left, he was the focus of the show. I wasn't, like, me being a nice guy. Wasn't No
Yeah.
one cared, apart from a few friends of mine who phoned me and said, "I can't believe how nice you were," and I'm like, "Yeah, well.
You were in the
So that
clickbait. You were in clickbait material.
Yeah, pretty much. But despite the fact that they've been reusing that footage and I haven't been compensated for it for the rest of my life,
Wow.
it helped me get on Spotlight. So I got on Spotlight and I started doing some commercials here and there, some TV shows here and there. I did a couple of BBC shows that led me to create my own TV sitcom, which was called This Job for Hire. And it was about the double life of this guy and his twin brother.
Hmm.
The guy was an actor who basically has a failed career. He ends up with this agent, which is quite funny because it mimics real life. But I didn't have the agent at this time, but he gets his agent, who's a seedy bastard, who ends up getting him in a ton of trouble. The BBC liked the pilot so much, they called me up and they wanted to produce it and said, can you make it into a full season? I was like, yeah, of course. So we did the writer's room. We had people critiquing it, retooling it. Then the crisis happened to the point where I really couldn't do much.
And that was the
Then
financial crisis. Oh,
no, it was basically the BBC got done for misusing people's tax,
wow.
and
Oh yeah, that's true.
so they had to eliminate a few things because they said they couldn't. If they didn't get the money for the TV license and it was spread out to different networks, then they're going to have to cut programming. So they cut BBC Three, but then they retooled BBC Three to be an online platform like YouTube and Netflix and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but as they were retooling, they released me from my contract. So I couldn't see the show go to fruition, but they never gave me the rights to the show back until 3 years after they released me.
Wow.
I was very pissed off with that.
So the
But
show, the
it
show
happens.
was just sitting there,
Yeah, it was just
not
sitting
developed,
in
but
their
you
vault.
can't do anything. No, they're
I
not
couldn't
doing
do anything
anything.
for 3 years, and then I got it back. And as soon as I got the rights back, I was able to make it into something of my own. But by the time I got the rights back, I really didn't want to do anything with it. Does that make sense? It was just like, okay, that was a thing I did.
The momentum
Um,
wasn't there anymore.
I think the drive wasn't there, like
Okay.
the need to produce the show, and plus times have changed,
Yeah.
right? One of the parts of the character of the show was the brother was a bit special needs. He was a bit dumb, a bit silly, and you could tell he had a bit of a mental disability. You're not really going to make a show like that now,
Exactly.
especially with how and the thing that most comedians don't get is comedy changes.
True.
What was okay at one point is not okay at another time.
Yeah.
So
Even Ed Murphy talked
I
about that recently.
but it really boggles the mind how many comedians get pissy about it. Like I read Seth Rogen's book recently, and he was going on about like comedy is very much a fluid thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you have stuff like the Chappelle show that was amazing for its time,
Mm-hmm.
but you couldn't do the Chappelle show now. There was a comedy series I used to watch called Boondocks. What was great
Oh
about
well, yeah.
Boondocks
The
then,
Boondocks. Yeah, yeah.
you
I
know,
love it.
but what was great about
Right.
then isn't as great as you couldn't get away with that now. And I think people keep focusing on cancel cultures about the
Mm-hmm.
woke and the left and blah blah blah, instead of thinking, okay, how has times changed?
Yeah.
How has things changed? Like I'm pansexual, right? Being gay in the 80s was a no-no. It was like an arrestable offense
Oh
in the
yeah.
UK.
That I mean, yeah.
I had my dad regularly threaten me that if I turned gay, he would kill me. And
Yeah, I was just about to say death sentence for a lot of people. So
yeah, and you still have the hatred towards people of that kind of ilk, right?
to this day, I
And the
mean,
LGBTQ plus community, which I am a part of, and it bugs me that we still have people with that mindset, and they're like, I don't like change. Things change, motherfucker. Everything changes. So we need to realize that what worked at one point is not going to work at another point. It's nice to have them because they're historical pieces of art and entertainment, but at the same time, you need to change with the times. If you're not a very good comedian and you can't adapt with the times, then you're not a good comedian,
It's plain and simple. That's just it. That's it.
right? So that show went off. And I started developing a pilot because I had the love of a video game called Silent Hill. I
Mm.
played this game with my
Oh,
dad.
Silent Hill.
Yes, it's
I
about
think
a
I
guy
played
who
that
goes
game
and
back when I
he goes
tried
into
video
like a
gaming.
fog. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was on the
yeah,
PlayStation, the original
yeah.
PlayStation.
I,
I played this game, and what I did was I went to I was doing video game interviews at the time, so I had a contact within Konami. So I went into Konami and said, "Hey, I want to pitch this idea for a TV show." So the idea was that we were gonna produce the show. We'll take it to like Kickstarter, or I think it was Indiegogo, the platform we're going to use to pitch the show and get people to fund the show. And then we were going to shop it to like streaming networks.
mm,
And Konami was going to come into bed with us. So they would give us the license. They would give us the license to produce the show. We would make, I think it was a total of 4 seasons, and each season would focus on a video game, right?
yeah.
The first season would be like a prequel, then the second season would be focused on the first game, then the third season would focus on the second game, and then the third season would basically wrap the story and focus on the third game. The biggest issue we had with this was Konami was going through a bit of a teething process, and they never told us this.
Mm,
So the company basically in the same year, I put the team together. I had people who were working on the show with me. We were writing scripts. We were creating storyboards. And then the company delisted itself from the stock exchange. And I was like, what the hell's going on?
oops.
So I contacted my contact. They weren't answering.
Oh
So
man.
I tried to get a hold of other people in the company. They weren't answering. I found out people were fired. And I like spoke to another person who was new in the company. Said, "Hey, we're developing this pilot. Is the pilot still safe? You know, can we still do this?" And they said, "Oh, just send us everything you have." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to do that
Yeah.
because you're going to give it to
That,
someone
yeah,
else."
that
Yeah,
sounded way too
just
fishy.
give us everything you have on what you're producing, and we'll call you. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Thank you. Have a great day. So it's still in my little box, like basically doing nothing. But yeah, the company just screwed me over, and it was. I went through that and went, okay, this producing stuff's not working. Maybe I can go and keep acting. And I was getting some acting work. I was doing, as I said, a few commercials here and there. And then I ended up landing a couple of different agents who were sending me for different places for work. And I met an agent called Elaine Eaglestone after all that. But it's a shame because as an actor, the biggest thing you want to do is you want to have you like, for me, I always wanted my career to be something memorable. I
Yes.
wanted it to be people to look at me and go, that was the guy who reinvented Silent Hill,
Mm,
because the game franchise has been in limbo
yeah.
since Konami fucked it
And
a while back.
video games. There's always been this struggle to adapt video games
Yes, the new Sonic movie is pretty good.
until recently. Yeah, but it's recently we've had like
The new Sonic movie is pretty good, and Detective Pikachu was pretty good too.
yeah, I haven't seen
And shout out to Ryan
Pikachu,
Reynolds.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
Detective Pikachu. It's
Sonic
Ryan
was
Reynolds.
good, and
Sonic was very good.
The Witcher series. I
I
like
haven't
that.
seen that yet. I've
I
got it,
like that.
but that's more based on the book than based on the video
Okay, well
game. So
that's true too. It has a
it was a
book
video game that's based on the book, but the book is being adapted into the
and
Netflix series.
Castlevania.
Yeah, Castlevania is very good too. That's a very good
Yeah,
anime.
I love the anime.
The biggest issue I had was when corporate make their mind up on shit. Like, part of the labor of movie making is you've got people like me who want to make stuff.
Yeah,
Then you got the people in the suits who want money. So they want to spend the least money possible and get the fastest return, because they see movies as kind of like a savings. It's like stock. They see it like stocks, like shares, like any mass product. They want to get as much return as they can on products. Like George Lucas was one of the biggest, where he took a film franchise that no one thought was going to work and he mass marketed the fuck out of it to the point where it wasn't the films that made the most money, it was the toy
The toys,
sales.
yeah, yeah.
Right, he made a lot of money off the Star Wars toys. He became a freaking like billionaire before
He's
he
a
became a
billionaire.
billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he
Yeah,
is now,
yeah.
but he was a billionaire before that
That's true.
because he made a ton of money off the Star Wars franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually he went from that to becoming like who he is now. He's retired from the industry. Part of his thing is like, oh, you know, good movies don't get made anymore. It's all about Marvel and stuff like that. Where I disagree. I think good movies do get made. I
Me
just
too.
think that the problem being is time. And again, times are changing. So you've got the Coppolas who basically think that, you know, movies aren't being made the way they should be made anymore. And you've got the Spielbergs and you've got the George Lucases who think that movies aren't being made the way they should be anymore. And the Priggers problem isn't that. The problem is that these guys have an old mindset
Yeah.
and they refuse to change with the times. Um, and it's a shame because, and again, I understand it. I respect these individuals, especially for everything they've done. But at the same time, I think we as a people, as a society, we change. Tastes change.
True.
Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is probably one of the biggest, most organic things that's happened in the movie industry. They took the concept of what would make a TV show and a TV series and they applied it to film because that's all this is. This Marvel Cinematic Universe is like one big TV show. They
That's
get
true.
free movies to help establish and continue establishing characters, right?
Yeah.
And then they make those characters team up in a big event movie where they have to fight something big. It's like the freaking premise of Power Rangers in a sense, but it works. It works for them, and now they're translating that to these multiple series. Like WandaVision was fucking excellent.
Oh, I loved WandaVision. That was.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier was amazing. And that's the thing. They know what they're doing and they do it rather well. And the amount of people that keep moaning and complaining, oh, this isn't what movies used to be. Movies used to be very crap, to be honest. Like people don't actually know that studios used to use horror movies as a way for them to make bank so they can put out the Oscar bait. It's like things haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've got it's the franchises that make the most money now.
Yeah.
So you still have the Oscar bait movies, but the Oscar bait movies don't make money. It's not really much you can do about that. And I think the people who are stuck in those ways are just going to continuously be stuck in that loop in a sense.
And I mean,
Oh,
there's some Oscar movies that have made good money for their budget, and
but they're not.
for
They haven't made as much
no,
as the
they're not.
Marvel
They're not
movies
gonna
have.
make as much as the franchise like the Marvel movies. But at the same time, one thing I always to me, I always notice in the complaints is that it's a certain group of people who keep complaining. And I'm like, there's more diversity out there now. I'm glad when one of the best movies I've seen in years is Parasite. And when I
Yep,
saw that movie,
it's a Korean movie.
I was like, why don't we see movies like this? You know, on Hollywood, why don't we see these movies here? Like Old Boy is among my top 10 movies, the Korean original version.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
but when I saw that and I was talking, someone told me, I was like, "What is that?" And when I started telling people about it too, it seemed like I was just in my own universe at one point in time until Parasite, and then it was like Parasite was like accepted as mainstream. But now it's because of the diversity that people. It's finally more people are getting materials put out there, and it's not just a select few who get access to making bringing stories to the screen because we
Yes.
keep seeing the same group. It's like a clique. Keep bringing the same, bringing get their stories told. They get to be the ones who dictate what gets being put out there. But I'm like, there's a lot more people who exist.
Yes.
That's how we don't know some people complain about like I don't watch war movies anymore because all the war movies I've seen always tell one type of stories. But I'm like, there's so much stories that about what happened during the World War II, World War I, from people of color, people from colonized countries, the territories, their roles, the roles that they played, and we don't see them reflected in war movies. Why aren't we seeing? If you bring that outcome, there are people who pay money to see that. But if you keep telling the same old story of, there was one white guy who was the hero, white guys, and we know there were a lot of white people who did heroic things, but they've only been the ones who keep being put on the screen. What about the women who played a heroic role? We don't, relegate them. The gay people who saved, only the movie by Benedict Cumberbatch, and it wasn't even a gay person who played that role. So you see how,
Yeah.
but and when people ask for that, and then they're like, yeah, but we don't we movies we don't like the way movies are. I'm like, no, I like it because I'm seeing the diversity, I'm seeing the changes, I'm seeing the stuff that people have been claiming could not be done, or people don't want to see being brought to the screen, and people are lapping it, people are jumping at that. People are like, yes, because look at
Mm,
Black Panther when it came out, and I was watching videos on YouTube of people in South Korea, people in um, um, Vietnam. They were asking people on the streets, and they were like, wow, all we hear of Africa is just, we only have one picture of Africa, and we know some Africans in our countries. But
mm.
it was nice to see a superhero from Africa. And you know what? It started making me think, maybe why can't I have a Spyro too from my country? And I was like, oh, yes, well, yes, ask. Because you do have
To
the
be
right.
fair, I've seen some Nollywood movies, and the Nollywood movies are terrible.
Oh, no, no, no,
Like
no,
the act,
don't get me started on Nollywood movies. But
the
that,
acting is very, very bad.
Nollywood.
There's a meme based on one of them where the guy's like, "Why are you running?"
Oh,
And I'm
that's my second favorite. Oh, I think that might be my first my favorite Nollywood meme because my sister, who's she's born in Ecuador, and she was actually supposed to be the co-host of this show. She was like, oh, if I'm running away from my sugar daddy, why are you running? Where are you? That's not. She applies that to almost everything in her life. There were people on her Facebook who didn't understand why she was always using that meme. I was like, I'll be the guy in the corner just laughing, like, yep, that's the
dude.
best thing Nollywood gives you is the
There was
priceless.
a site, there was
But
a channel on Sky called Nollywood, right? And it was basically the
oh,
best of Nollywood.
oh
And I
wow,
used to watch it, and the movies were trash. Like, no offense to any of them, right?
nah.
Firstly, English is not your first language, so you shouldn't really be doing a movie in English if it's
But
not your first language.
that's one thing that people miss out. It's they forget that there's this impact of we want to be. Nollywood is a lot of copycat. It's just copycatting. I don't
Yes,
know
yes,
if
of
that's the right
course,
way of
I
saying it.
agree.
But because
It's
if
the
you look
same
at
when
the South African movie industry, South Africa has more
yes,
quality in comparison to Nollywood, but Nigeria has larger numbers. So we'll put out. It's like porn. We just put out like porn. It's like
no, no, I
I
agree
lived in
because
in the
at
Nollywood
one
area,
at,
and
at one point Nollywood was like the number one biggest movie franchise, like
oh,
earners, and it
yeah,
was because of the population.
yeah, because they just keep putting out numbers. I mean, there
Yeah.
was when this movie came out, Gladiator, the Russell Crowe Gladiator.
Yes.
Within less than a month, there was an Hollywood version. My aunt's buddy that was like, she was, oh, this movie is very good. And I was like, really? You mean you mean you can't tell what is happening? How was that? Like, come on, you could tell Nigerian stories. There are a lot of Nigerian stories that you can tell without going the
Yeah,
Nollywood route, and it
that is
was
true.
without just copying this American. You don't have to copy that. So much you can do. But the funny thing is that there are studios that have come out that are like real good acting and all that, but they don't
Yes.
have the pool as the regular Nollywood studios. Because if you look, if you look around, there are a lot of fans of Nollywood studios. Like, so it's like either you love Nollywood movies or you hate it. And I'm in the hate category. I don't like Nollywood movies.
I
I don't.
I, I don't like it. I
I
don't
won't say
hate
hate
it, but
it,
I just
but I say
I
this.
see it.
I'm not
I'll
a
see it
fan.
in the same as something as like it's like watching The Room, right? The Room is trash.
Oh
The Room
yeah,
is terrible, but it's
straight up
funny
garbage.
and it's quotable. and that's what I see Nollywood as. It's like a
Yeah,
big franchise of movies that are basically The Room, right?
yeah,
You have
yeah.
all these quotable, silly things that come out of it that make you laugh. Like the again, the "Why are you running" meme. That
Ah,
is freaking.
get
That
out of
always
here.
makes me.
That's
That
another
always
one,
makes
but
me
that's my favorite
chuckle.
actually.
And then you have the bad acting when the guy's holding their guns to one
Oh boy,
side and wearing the weird ass do
that
rags. And even the thing that made me laugh so much when I watch some of these is they play like in the background, like Mariah Carey and stuff,
yeah.
like music that's copyrighted, but they're playing it in the background, and it's not even like laced over the video.
Nope,
You know, when you're doing like
nope.
audio editing,
They
no,
just
no, it's basically like old school playing it on the fucking radio while this guy is
ah,
trying to have a scene and he's doing it in such bad English. And he's just
ah.
like, and I'm laughing my ass off watching this stuff.
Trust
So I don't
me.
consider it, I consider it trash, but I don't consider it bad trash. I don't look at
Yeah,
it and
no,
go, oh my God,
I,
that's the most offensive thing I've seen.
yeah, trust me.
But it
I
makes me
feel you.
laugh.
I feel you on that because yeah, my wife watched some with me. Like there was one that a lot of people were like giving. I forgot what that movie was called. This Chief Daddy or something. It's on Netflix,
Mm,
and I watched it. And I was just laughing because I was like, man, after all these years, I haven't watched an Hollywood movie in how many years? This one was on Netflix, and people were like seem to be talking like, oh, this is an improvement. The studio that makes movies that seem to be like actors who are not really the over dramatic and those type of people. I keep looking for their movies, but they don't seem to have landed a deal with any big streamer. So yeah, I have to. It's like you have to go buy their movie directly from them
yeah.
right now. And I don't really have it. I because all my movies I use Amazon Prime TV. So if I can't get it there, I can't really buy it there because I don't have anything to play a movie with at home. So, um, but this movie, somebody was like yelling about it, and I was like, okay, let's watch it. And we watch it. I was just laughing from man. This is. I was like, come on, all these years, you guys still on this? Come on. I thought the joke levels would have changed because like I can recommend the show on Netflix, How to Ruin Christmas. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
It's South African. That's a South African series. And man, that series is you will see South Africans have their own way of doing theirs, but
Yeah.
you see the quality. You in comparison to Nollywood,
Yeah.
you get it. You get you the difference is clear. Now South Africans, Nigerians will be mad at me because they're like, oh man, this your Nigerian hate coming up now. I'm like, no, come on. We know the truth. We know the truth. But I know the
Well,
Nollywood fans, and I'm like, hey, if you enjoy Nollywood, that's fine. Enjoy it. I'm not saying
to
don't
be
but
to be
don't
fair,
support
like
them.
if I go back to professional wrestling for a second, Apollo Crews, who's
Mhm.
like a Nigerian descendant, he moved his family moved to America from Nigeria. He accomplished so much in wrestling, and now he's having one of his best runs in the WWE. He's a foreign heel, and he's basically putting on a fake Nigerian accent
Oh boy.
and following his roots. You know, he puts himself as a Nigerian prince. I have
Uh,
no issue with this. Like it's cool, but it's probably the best Nigerian accent and Nigerian acting I've ever seen. So there you go, guys. You've got Apollo Crews.
well,
Congratulations.
actually,
Give him an Oscar.
the ones who are considered the best Nigerian acting is I give John Boyega, which is Boyega, if you're going by John Boyega and Chiwetel Ejiofor, because Chiwetel Ejiofor is of Igbo descent, and well, there's a bunch of them. Like
Mm.
British TV is full of Nigerian born actors on there,
But that's
and
the thing. Like, I'm not saying Nigerian actors are all bad.
oh
I'm
no
just
no
saying
no
that
no no.
Nollywood in general is just terrible.
No,
It's
not
lovely
not
terrible. Don't get
Nollywood.
me
Like
wrong.
if
It's
you've
terrible.
been at the Nollywood production, man, you won't even have to explain yourself because man, now I can look back and say, man, is that 1 week? It's like
I've seen porn. God forbid porn that is better produced
two
than a
weeks,
Nollywood
and I
movie.
was like, whoa, yeah. I didn't realize how yeah it was until I started reading. I looked into movie production one time, and then I found out that porn they actually produce porn Much better than Nollywood. I was like, oh man, this is.
Yeah, porn
Woo.
is produced with like HD cameras, you know.
Hmm.
They actually build sets now for porn.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of porn movies are actually built the same way as an actual movie set. Like Axel Braun produced a Star Wars movie, which yeah, it was a thing, but but it was highly produced. It had a very high budget. So when I hear stuff like this and people like, oh, you know, why do you hate Nollywood so much? I'm like, I don't hate
It's not.
Nollywood.
It's not hate.
It's
Because
just really badly
even
produced.
with a low budget, you can still make good quality. Because low budget is not an excuse.
Mm.
I've seen. What's that movie? John Boyega's first movie. His breakout movie, Attack the Block.
Oh, Attack the Block, yeah.
That was a low budget movie.
Well, that's true. But the one thing I will say about him right now, it's I feel really bad for him because he's basically in a position I don't think he's ever going to work again.
You think so?
Yeah, it's
He
my
did. He
biggest
did
gripe.
small acts though.
Yeah, but I think like Star Wars is probably the biggest thing he's been in, and I think he
Yeah.
got screwed over
Yeah.
doing Star Wars should have been about him. He should have been the Jedi, you know. But they went in a different direction and kind of bait and switched, and they destroyed his character at the same time.
Yeah. They waste his character was just wasted on that. It was just
Yeah, and then the whole
running
thing
and
with
yelling.
then
And
the whole thing with Black Lives Matter came out. And I'm 100% behind Black Lives Matter. I agree that the police treat black people like they're fucking slaves still, in my opinion. And when you're telling someone to not resist and you're freaking holding a gun to their head or putting your knee on their head or trying to suck the oxygen out of their fucking body. And I've heard so many people go, oh, well, you know, the guy was I don't give a shit if George Floyd was a criminal before they arrested him, right? Doesn't justify anybody killing a person. And you can see the problem. There's a discrepancy, especially in the United States. There's a discrepancy between white people and black people.
yes.
If you have a white person shoot a place up, that white person is probably going to get a GoFundMe or someone's going to bail them out. They're going to talk nicely to that guy. They're going to
way
get
to the station.
yeah, they'll get you a water and a KFC and bucket and
Your
all that nice
humanity
stuff.
is recognized, and that's.
But if you're black and you're being mistaken for someone else, or a police officer thinks you look like someone else, the moment you get in that car, 9 times out of 10, you're going to die. And people don't get that. And they're like, well, if you don't resist the police, there's not going to be a problem.
It don't matter. It don't matter what you do.
But if someone who basically is supposed to be in charge of protecting you doesn't protect you, they do the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
They basically treat you like you're a thing, like you're a toy that if you get broken, it's kind of like, oopsie. But you're not a thing. You're a human being with life. You don't want to die. Now you've got black people teaching their children how not to die.
Yeah.
Ways to get around the police and be as nice to the person as possible. Yes, sir.
Which is
okay, sir.
Yeah, that is
just so you won't die.
And that annoys the hell out of me. But trust me,
But you also-
I've been chased by vigilantes, and the police told me it was my fault. So
Yeah, it's and this is the thing, right? You got these have a go heroes as well, who wouldn't have been prosecuted until public outcry forced them to prosecute them. You cannot, the color of your skin should not be a deciding factor of whether you live or die. Your gender shouldn't be a deciding factor of whether you live or die.
True.
Being a woman shouldn't be the deciding factor of whether you live or die. And we're in a situation right now where we're trying to bring this to light. And John Boyega put his career on the line to do that. And you've got all these directors sitting there going, oh, you know, we support you. He'll work in my movie. And those fucking pricks probably will never cast him again because the producers who fund these movies go, oh, you got John Boyega. No, I don't want him there.
Yeah, I get it.
And then the problem is the conservative mindset is getting very, very much in the same mindset as racism. as
It's
sexism.
I don't know. To me, it's always been. It's always been. It's
But
been
it's
more
gone hand in
nuanced.
hand.
It's more nuanced.
Yeah,
There's
but it's
always
not.
been. There's been a fine way of like making it seem like like when they say Reagan was we need to be the Republican Party of Reagan. I'm like
Mhm.
that guy was a killer. That
Yeah,
guy was brutal. But
yeah,
now because of Trump, Reagan looks like it's like where George W. looks like he's a cool guy now because
yeah,
Donald Trump, although George W. campaigned for every Supreme Court justice that we have now. So
yeah. But
we
the
live
the
that
thing
out.
about it is, Trump made racism cool, right? He made it cool. So he made it so that these guys and girls who are racist got the confidence to go out there on their own and show the world that they don't need to hide anymore. They don't need to go under the rocks. They don't need to watch what they have to say. And thus has created the society that we're living in now. And the problem we're having is, instead of addressing it
Hmm.
and trying to fix it, we're doing half measures.
Exactly.
We're doing little fixes. Oh, let's appease them by prosecuting George Floyd's killers, right?
Even
But we
though
we
almost the same number of black and brown people have been killed since George Floyd
Yes, by police
by
officers.
police
Like, you
officers.
had a woman who couldn't decide. She thought she didn't understand what a taser and a gun was.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't use my taser, I used my gun and shot him. And you've had actual police officers come out and say, this is a taser, this is a gun. You can't mistake the one for the other, right? And the problem being is, you have bad cops. You have people on the force who are racist, who are homophobic, and who are transphobic.
Yeah, because those are the trans community get hit the worst, especially the black trans.
Yeah, and then this is the thing. They It's become almost normal now, right? The amount of times we hear that someone dies or passes away because of police brutality, we're now just sitting there going, okay, there's another person who's dead. We become numb to it.
It's like the mass
And
shootings.
yeah, and it shouldn't be that way. It
No.
shouldn't be that way. And he's like given his career for this. He's fucked, because nobody's going to want to work with him again,
Mm.
because the studios aren't going to want to work with him, because the TV companies aren't going to want to work with him. And that shouldn't be the way that it is. He's going to be just another name in the industry when he's not. He's something special, but they will never cast him in anything again. Like Black Panther, that movie was so special because of the fact that we got a all-star cast, a black cast,
Yes.
right? It showed, and people were shitting on it. I remember before it came out, people were like, well, it's an all-black movie, it's never gonna fucking make bank. It made billions in the box office,
Of course.
and people don't fucking understand why. You can't sit there and appropriate someone's culture and take away from people and hurt people
Hmm.
and expect that to be what it should be. America shouldn't be the way that America was. It was founded on racism, hate, and segregation. That's what America should not be now. The same goes for the UK. It's founded on hate and segregation. We were raiding and raping countries. My ancestors were taking away from every fucker on the planet.
Yeah.
We went to India. We fucking raped India in the name of the Queen. We went to fucking Africa,
No.
raped Africa in the name
Trust
of the
me.
Queen. We colonized everywhere. And people still look at it as, well, it was our ancestors. You shouldn't be sitting there having a go at me because of what my ancestors did. But you're normalizing it.
Yeah.
You're normalizing it.
That's why there's an effort right now to um m- remove the history, like downplay the past. It was just it happened. We can move on. Like they say that for whatever makes them uncomfortable, so that we don't, we can't visit. Like now, you have on the Republican side a bunch of states, red states, going after critical theory, saying trying to reverse history of America, downplay slavery and all that. It's like but you have
Mm,
to address your past. Look at Germany just finally apologized for the genocide that they committed in Namibia, which was 30 years before. the Nazis did theirs in Germany and
Hmm.
Europe. And when you go into details of that, it looks literally like that was the beginning. That was like a test run of what was coming. But when you see that, that's why I come back to the movies, because all the movies you see is always like Nazi Germany. It's like, oh, it just and it just existed in one bubble. They always like
Yeah.
only one place, and then but you don't when history is only told about you don't give the full picture, and you don't mention that, hey, these guys went intentionally said we are going to make life, you guys challenged us when we try to colonize you, so as a punishment we will push you into the desert, and not only that, we'll make sure we poison the land that we give you, and then we'll own
Yep.
all the arable land. So apart from killing you in battle, we'll make sure the rest of you will die out. And
Yes.
that was a high level of that's another level of genocide that is like mad extreme, that even those of us who grew up in African countries were never aware of. But the first, I know one of the tribes that was affected in Namibia, the first thing that they got reparated to
Hmm.
them, as the first thing they got from Germany as as reparation was a Bible, the first Bible that they wrote in their language. That was the first reparation. Oh, we're not apologizing or anything. Well, that was a few years ago. Look, but we'll give you the Bible that they say it. Hey, everybody happy. They had a big party, and I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? That has that fixed. Nobody's admitting to anything until the main tribe that got almost wiped out, their descendants have
Yeah.
always been fighting and fighting, and they even refused the amount that Germany offered. Germany offered like 1.2 billion. I said that's bullshit. Come on, you know what to do. You know what to do. When you did the right thing with Israel, you can do the right thing with everybody. Do the right
Well,
thing.
what's also going on with Israel and Palestine right now, right?
Yes, that's a different topic. But I mean, for the reparation, because the Jews got reparations. That's the point I'm making. I'm not
Yeah.
saying
No, I agree
I'm
with
not
you.
going with what they did with the Palestine side of it, because I'm pro Palestine. But
I'm pro Palestine too because
but
I'm a
oh
descendant
yeah,
of the
you also
Palestinians.
descendant, so it would have been
Yeah.
weird if you were. But what I'm
Pro
talking about.
Israel, fuck my people.
Some Palestinians will be like, look, cancel him.
Is
Nah,
this
but
motherfucker for real? It's like, yeah, fuck you.
ah,
To be
but
honest, though,
yeah, but
I'm a firm
anytime
believer
people
of.
say reparations is impossible, don't talk about reparation. I'm like, but Israel is proof. Britain paid New Zealand reparations. They,
Yeah.
so, but it's like a download. You have to go search for it. You have to go look for it. Like, oh, wait.
Mm.
This happened. So why can't you just do right? Do right. That's all. That's what people ask. People are not asking for anything glorious. We're not
You
asking
have
to come
rich
rule. We're
people.
not asking to come rule the UK. We're not asking to come rule the United States. We're not asking to take over. We're just asking for the right thing to be done. We're asking for accountability.
This
And
is the thing. If you their accountability, then it's going to open up a ton of shit.
mm-hmm,
They'll never be accountable. Accountability means that you have to be accountable for yourself.
yeah.
I've always been accountable for myself. Like today, I lost my temper a little bit with a friend of mine. We had a little bit of a disagreement because I felt like he wasn't be communicating properly
Mm.
because I loaned him some money,
Oh man,
and
that
I don't loan
that's
money to people.
yeah.
I usually give money to people because I know that if I get, I'm never going to get the money back, right?
Yes.
And he was trickling. He'd promise me and say, "Oh, I'll give you it on this date," and then he was trickling it down just little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit, right? And eventually, I got annoyed and said, "Hey." You're promising this day and then this day. And he's like, oh, you just lack patience. And I went, dude,
Mm.
you're not, being accountable for your end here, right? It has no, like, whatever is happening, it's got nothing to do with me. You said you'd pay me on this date. You didn't pay me on this date. Then you said you'd pay me on this date. You didn't pay me on this date. And then we went on and on and on and on and on and on and on, right? But then afterwards, I have a thought and apologized because he paid me, but he was just trickling little bits here and there.
Yeah.
And he explained why. And I was just like, I was getting frustrated because he was like, oh, you lack patience, when I was waiting almost a month for him to just do what he said he was going to do.
Mm.
So I apologize for my side because I value him and I told him I value you, I value your business, I value everything you do. I appreciate you. Don't think I don't appreciate you. But just remember, um, I'm not having a go because I think you're a bad person. I'm having a go because I think you just didn't handle the situation well. But I apologize for my side, and I did. And I think being accountable and apologizing for your side should be a thing. When everyone was doing the council culture videos, I did a video on myself, and I talked about how I am responsible for things that I did and things that I said. Like, I made a stupid joke to someone in the past saying that she wasn't like all black girls, and the girl got angry, and rightly so, you know.
Mhm.
I made I basically tried to someone who wanted to be friends with me, I tried to push her into a relationship. It happens. We do stupid shit.
That with guys, well, yeah, trust me, I've been that
But
guy too.
open, the thing about it is you've got to be open and honest with yourself,
Uh-huh.
and open and honest about who you are and what you've done and what mistakes you've made. We all make mistakes,
Indeed.
but we need
I
to own
agree
up for
with
that.
the accountability. I
Mm.
do something like that in the same vein. I'm still doing it because there's a lot of deprogramming that I'm still going through
Yeah.
as a result of my upbringing, as a result of being in a religious cult for years and whole manner of things. Even my relationship with sports was very toxic, and it gave me the like language that we used to use just from while playing soccer as rip them, rip them down. Like
Yeah.
rape was like that. We just use the word rape
Yeah.
carelessly, and so I had to do a whole lot of um, holding myself accountable. And even now, my relationship with my daughter, she's now the talker in the house. And if she says I don't like it, stop it. I respect
Yeah.
that.
It's the same
As
thing.
as young as she is, I start to respect it. It's only like if she pooped her pants and I have to wipe her butt. Yeah, that's the only time I can overrule her. Like, hey, your diaper needs to be changed. So yes, I'm going to do this. You might not like to have your diaper changed now, but you will understand later. Other than that, it's I respect you. I start giving her that respect that she can say no. That's one thing I didn't respect. You know, in a weird way, I respected it in women when like I was making a move, but I will push.
Yeah.
I will push. Like you have to tell me no like 10 times before okay, then I'll walk away. But
Yeah.
yeah, but and when the Me Too movement came up, and a lot of guys, like one of my cousins, I think that's why he doesn't even talk to me today because he should have been on the podcast. He's a professor in one of the universities in the South, and he was complaining about these women the men don't feel comfortable anymore. We can't walk anywhere. We can't be in an office space with a woman. And I was like, bro, have you do you have women friends? Do you have
Mm.
have you talked to them? Like when I'm reading the accounts and I start looking at myself, I'm like, wow, how when did I don't even know when the crack happened that I like started listening to people, but it was
Yeah.
before Me Too happened. But when Me Too came, and I started seeing different accounts of women, not even talking about being abused, just the harassment levels. And I started realizing that wait, there were times that I was doing harassment too, without seeing myself
Yeah.
as being an harasser because I wasn't the guy who was like, "Hey, baby," on the street, or grabbing a woman in the club. I didn't do that, but I didn't realize that I was also harassing people, women, especially in other ways.
Yeah. I agree with
Online,
you.
there were ways I was harassing too, but I was thinking of myself, hey, I don't do it like the people who I believe are more violent or more aggressive. So I'm not one of them. So I'm better. So yeah, well, this don't exist. And then someone like me will start saying, "Oh, it does. Men can't don't feel safe anymore. Men can't walk in a club. Or men can't walk in an office space." And no, but I had to hold myself accountable and say, "Wow, I have been
Yeah.
guilty of a whole lot of this, and I have to apologize." And I'm how to say I'm gonna start taking notes and know when to listen, when to take a step back, and if my friends who are women say, "Hey, this is okay," then it's okay. If they say that's not okay, I respect their boundaries. And
I think the biggest issue is understanding to read the room. If someone
mm,
says no, like someone can consent to sex, right,
yes,
and say yes, and then you're midway through, and if they go no while you're midway through, you stop.
that's it.
I've been in that situation myself, and I've stopped. I haven't forced. I haven't pushed. I've stopped because I've realized as I've been getting older, after having daughters of my own and watching these little fucking shits harass my daughters, you realize, hey, boys do this. And it's because their toxic dads have been
Yeah.
pushing them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you get your dad going, "Oh, that's right, son. That's how you get a girl." And then
Mm-hmm.
you get the kid basically doing inappropriate things, saying inappropriate things, lashing out in an appropriate way. And it's all because his dad thinks that that's okay. That's a good thing to
Yeah,
do.
they say that's he's just been a boy. I'm like, no, you're not being a boy. You know, yeah,
It's
I
you're
don't,
just you're not even being a man in
no,
a sense. You're being this perverse individual. It's like the one thing that I've realized, and I think people need to realize, is no means no.
that's it.
Because all our lives we've like you get told constantly, don't take no for an answer. Don't take no for an answer. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to dominate a girl and push a girl because that's what she wants. She wants you to dominate her. No, she doesn't want you to dominate her. When she says no, thank you, or I've got a boyfriend, you leave her alone.
Yeah,
If she says to you, hey, you've got basically, I don't want to date you. I don't want to go out with you. I don't want to do anything. You leave her alone. If she gives you a fake number and you want to try and call it and you make sure she stays there so you can call it, then maybe you need to rethink your life choices.
I agree.
I, at one point, I said to my daughters, I don't want you dating a man like me, like I used to be.
Mm.
And my daughters were like, but you're cool, dad. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I was a terrible human being, right? And that's the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
It's it
You have to bring the truth out. You own the truth. It's owning the truth, and that's the only way you can move forward. Once you own your
mhm.
truth. So, man, we've been at this for more than a minute, and man, I would have loved to continue, but we're out of
That's
time.
fine. That's okay. That's no
We have to
problem.
do this again. So, um, to wrap it up, you've lived in a few places.
Mhm.
Where will you consider your home? You know
The honest
that you
truth is, I
love.
have no home. I fell in love with America. That's where I want to live, but that's not happening.
You probably you probably fall in love with Brooklyn, New York. I'm being biased. I have to sell Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn, but it's still
I
expensive though.
lived in New York. One of my best friends is Megaran Rahim Jabbo. He lives in the United States. He's from Phoenix, Arizona. I believe he lives in Phoenix. Um, he's a great, great dude and one of my all-time favorite people.
Mm.
I want to live in America. That was all my dream. I want to live in LA. Despite the issues that I have in America, I still love it, but it's not something that I can do right now, right? Especially with the mindset that's still there.
Yeah.
Um, so I live in China, and it's great. I like being here. I like being in China. Uh, I enjoy my life here. I'm teaching kids. I'm giving them a chance to learn English and fall in love with the English language and develop to help them get opportunities that I myself have got myself, and I'm living a good life here. Everything's cheap. I have babies who I've adopted, and the this this is the closest I think I've been to home,
Mm.
but this isn't home. And I consider myself a traveling nomad
All right.
because I'll be here for a while until I decide to either move on or figure out how to get to the United States. Um, but I can tell you that in another, like, if you want to bring me on for a part two, I'm more than happy
I'll
to
probably
go
have to
into the
arrange that part two because there was a
yes.
question about a TV setting up a TV show that I wanted to ask, but I'm completely out of time, so I won't be able to go there. So really appreciate you coming on the podcast. There's a whole bunch of questions I didn't get up to, but this has been fun. This has been great. And so, final question: what do
Mhm.
you like to leave the audience with? Your freestyle, anything you want to give us. Could be from a quote, your favorite quote, or it could be from your book or from some your poem or
I'll
anything
give
you've
you
written.
a life lesson, which
Yeah.
is I know you're having a bad day. I know that things may not go well. I know that life may be hard. But if you see someone who's trying to serve you and do their job, and you get angry because they can't give you your latte or that you're stuck in a queue or whatever, right? Be nice. Take a
Mm.
deep breath, stand, take it in. And then after you've taken that deep breath, have a conversation with yourself and think, what would I do? What would I do if that was me being harassed?
Mm.
And try and pass on the good vibes, be a good person. And it doesn't take money to be a good person, it doesn't take
Nope.
anything. All it takes is you not to make someone else's life hell just because you are having a bad day. So be good, be nice, be kind, and forever just be yourself.
Awesome. So, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
I have a YouTube channel. You can go onto youtube.com/the nerd genius. I'm retooling it at the moment. I'm going to be posting top fives and video game content and stuff soon. I'm also have an Instagram. If you go to instagram.com, Michael Burhan actor, I post videos on there regularly on IGTV, and also post like pictures and bits and pieces. I have a Facebook page as well, but I don't use it as much as I used to because Mark Zuckerberg's an idiot. But apart from that, you check me out on IMDb. If you type Michael Burhan actor in Google, you can find a wealth of history on me. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. So I'll have the links in the show notes. And yeah, please follow Michael. And yeah, he's a great follow. He's an awesome guy. And I hope to have him back on the podcast one day so we can chop up the other questions. All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. As I said, whenever you want me there,
yeah.
I'll be there. I'll make some time.
All right. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that, man. Thanks again for coming on the podcast. And to everyone listening, thanks for the privilege of your company. Come back again, share the love, and yeah, keep liking and spreading the love. Keep the good vibes. Thanks for listening to White Label American. If you enjoyed the show, we'll appreciate if you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. If you have any questions, comments, or have someone who will be a good guest on the show, or you want to be on the show, send us a message at whitelabelamerican@gmail.com. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at White Label American. Thank you for your support.